recording and we'll get started. So, welcome everybody. Thanks very much for joining. My name is Adam. I am one of the careers consultants as part of the careers team. And in this session, I'm going to be talking about how to prepare specifically for the STEM fair that's going on tomorrow and Wednesday, but broadly speaking, all careers fairs. Okay, now the first thing I am going to get you to do is if you could all just scan that QR code for me. This allows me to get a sense of who's actually attending these sessions, and it lets me send you the slides. Now, if you can't scan the QR code for whatever reason, maybe you've joined on your phone or whatever it might be, I will be showing an email at the end. And if you just email us, we'll be able to send you the slides that way. But if you could do this in the first instance, it means that you'll get the slides pretty quickly at the end of the week. Now, while you do that, just to explain, this session is about 16 slides. It's going to take maybe 20, 30 minutes, something like that. And it's going to act as an introduction on what you should be doing before, during, and after a careers fair. That's what I'm trying to get across. It's not the most complex of topics, which is why it doesn't take the full hour. But like I said, if you do have any questions or anything that I haven't covered in this that you were hoping to cover, please do put those in the chat and I'll get through at various points to those questions throughout the session. Okay, so to talk a little bit first about what fairs there actually are, hopefully you've seen, and I've already mentioned it already, we have the STEM fair, which is our first careers fair of the semester, starting on Tuesday the 8th and then going on to Wednesday the 9th of October. That's in the Nancy Rothwell building, or the engineering building, if you were aware that it had been renamed. This, like it says, is for STEM employers. So STEM just stands for science, technology, engineering and manufacturing, or maths, depending on who you ask. Now, that's not to say that it's only those roles that will be available, but it's going to be employers from those sectors. The thing I always like to say is, look, every organisation needs an HR function, and that's not necessarily a STEM role. So if you are broadly interested in working in that sector, those employers, it's always worthwhile coming, and I'll talk in a little bit more detail about that. Next, a couple of weeks after that, so on Tuesday the 22nd and Wednesday the 23rd, we have the Autumn Careers Fair. This is a more general careers fair for everybody with employers from all sorts of different sectors. It is important to say that there are different employers going on each days. So if you are interested in either of these or both, it's worthwhile stopping by for both days of the fairs. And then lastly, we have the law fair on the 12th of November. That's fairly self-explanatory, but these are legal employers, so employers in the law sector. Now, we have had one question: which fair would be most beneficial for School of Health Science, public health students? Generally speaking, I'd probably say the STEM fair in that situation. That's not to say that the Autumn Careers Fair might not be helpful to get a sense of what else is out there. For example, public health students, you might be interested in healthcare writing. That might come up in the Autumn Careers Fair. I'm not sure. I haven't necessarily looked at all the employers, but it could still be worthwhile going to the Autumn Careers Fair. However, and I will touch on this again, no doubt, it is worthwhile having a look at the types of employers that are actually at both fairs, that if you go into the event on Career Connect, you can see a list of those employers. Do a bit of research, find out who's there, what they do, that kind of thing is always helpful. So that's what you're looking at. They're in different places. Nancy Rothwell building for tomorrow, Wednesday. The other two are in the Whitworth Hall. And this, broadly speaking, is how it looks, right? Open access, you can go in and out, you can circulate, and employers will have their own stalls, their own stands, and you can speak to whichever one you want. It's quite a busy event, there's quite a lot of bustle, can get quite busy in terms of just how it runs. There's quite a buzz around the event, and there are things that I would suggest you do beforehand, things I suggest you while you go in there. But let's, I guess, talk about it broadly. What's the point? Why would you want to go to one of these fairs? I mean, hopefully you're all in the the kind of same boat that you're interested in going. So I'm preaching to the converted to an extent. But here are some of the answers to those questions. And the first one I get quite a lot. Why would I go to careers fair when I'm not really sure what I want to do? That, I would argue, is probably the best reason to go, because it will give you an idea of what's out there, what's available, the types of employers in your sector or maybe interest group, or maybe even if you're not really sure at all what direction you want to go in, it'll give you an idea of what's available. It's very easy when you're not really sure what you want to do to think, well, I don't even know what's out there. I have no idea. So how can I make any decision when I don't know what my options are? Careers fairs do a lot to help you figure that out. Next one, I mean, kind of obvious, right? It's easy. You don't need to book. You don't need to pay. All you need to know is when they are. Do I have a little bit of free time? Then pop along. No appointment necessary. It's dead simple, dead easy. And as students, as graduates, you have the opportunity to go to these things. Once you leave university, they're few and far between. This is a really helpful opportunity and dead simple to go. So definitely go if you can. And, you know, they're looking for the University of Manchester students. We are, not sure if we're the first still, but we certainly were last year, but we're in the top 5 universities in terms of employers targeting our students. This is their opportunity to do that. You guys are in demand as students and graduates of Manchester University. So make use of it. Go to these employers, talk to them, find out what they're about, what do they have available. I'll talk in a bit of detail in the next couple of slides about specifically what to ask, how to do that, but that's important. Fairs are the opportunities for these companies to spot talent, figure out are there particular students they want to engage with, speak to. Often they'll have actual roles that they're looking to fill at these events. They come with not a list as such, but an idea of where they need to recruit. So it can be really worthwhile going to these things. Also, I'm going to talk a little bit about what you should ask these employers. Gathering that information will make your application so much stronger. You can put in to your applications, to your interviews even, what you find out about these companies, these roles at careers fairs. Really strong applicants will go to these careers fairs and find out what they're looking for, how they can stand out from these employers. It's a cheat sheet, basically. It's an opportunity to find out what's going to be on the exam. Really, really useful. And certainly, last but not least, loot. Most, if not all of these companies are going to have freebies. If nothing else, you might get free pens, free cups. I mean, this cup I'm using at the moment, got it right from a careers fair. Really, really helpful. And just really cool, right? So always worthwhile going. Now, in terms of what you should do before you go, going prepared is probably my biggest tip. This is what you should be doing. There are, I think, something like certainly over 40, maybe as many as 50 employers coming across the 2 days. You're not going to be able, nor would you really want, to speak to every one of them. You'll lose your voice by the end of it. So have a look, research a little bit about those different employers. What do they do? Are you interested? And then make a list of the ones that you actually want to talk to. Yeah, which ones do you actually want to find out about? Are there ones that you think, I'm really interested in that sector, I've never heard of the company before, or vice versa? And then go with a little bit of intention. Make sure you've got enough time and hit those employers. Make sure you have those conversations and come with some relevant questions, right? That's really important. Make sure you're not coming with an idea of, oh, I'll just talk to them and figure it out. We need a bit more than that. Have had a question. How do I find a list of who will be in there? If you go to the event page on Career Connect, so same way you booked onto this or heard about this, hopefully. But if not, if you go onto Career Connect, go onto the event page and there's a list of the employers that are available. If it's not there for whatever reason, there will be an email address that you can email to ask for a list. As far as I know, it is on the event page, but if not, email that email and you'll be able to be sent a list. And that should be fine. Update your CV, update your LinkedIn. Make sure that you come, maybe not armed with a copy of your CV, that's not how it works in 2024, but definitely make sure that you have your CV up to date so you can apply to these things, whether they have a recruitment drive on, or you can connect with these people on LinkedIn and be relatively confident that the thing you've got there is up to date. I'm sorry, we've had an employer, a question, will there be any employers from museums? I can't quite remember off the top of my head. I suspect that'll probably be in the Autumn Careers Fair rather than the STEM Careers Fair, but I would have a look on the list to make sure, because I can't remember on the top of my head if there were any museum employers there. Sorry about that. But like I say, the list is there, so have a look on there. And then, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the pitch, what to ask, etc., but have that kind of pitch in your head. Think about what you would say to them, what you would ask them, what you'd say to them about yourself, your current course, your interests. Even if the answer is, well, I'm really not sure. Maybe just think about what you're studying, how that's relevant, what you're particularly interested in what you're studying, and that you're not really sure where you want to be, but you've come to find out more information. That is perfectly legitimate. We're not asking you to know exactly what you want to do to come to a careers fair, just a little bit about what you're interested in, because you want to engage in that conversation. You want to engage that employer, whoever it is they are. Now, in terms of what companies will be there, I've already kind of mentioned this. There's the list of exhibitors on Career Connect on the actual About section. You can see it on there. Like I say, I don't know everybody that's going to be there, but you guys need to do that research. This is how you will do it. And what I would suggest, if there are any companies you are particularly interested in, yes, look at their website. That can be really helpful, obviously. But as well, look at their social media. Look at their Instagram. Look at their LinkedIn. Look at their Twitter or X if you can stand it. I know Twitter's a bit of a cesspool sometimes. But this can be really helpful because you get a sense of not just, what they say on their website, what they're about, but how they communicate to their audience, whether it's their customers or the people they are trying to recruit. Have they mentioned that they're going to be at the careers fair on their social media? More often than not, they will. And you can get a sense of, what they're there for, what they're advertising, what they're hoping to get out of it. So that just adds to this idea of what you're going to talk about. It can really help. It shows you've done a bit more preparation than just the standard, I've looked at your website and etc. Now, in terms of what you should do on the day, there's a couple of things. So before you actually get to the event, check for some updates. Check the Career Connect website. Make sure that it's all going. Is your employer still going to be there? Try and get in the right frame of mind. You are going with a careers focus. So there are a few things that you want to do. You want to make sure that you know what you're asking. You want to make sure that you know where you're going, what employers you want to hit. I already talked about that. Gather your materials. So if you want, you can go on with a few copies of your CV, but at the very least, have your list of employers. Make sure that you know exactly where you're going. Where is it in the Nancy Rothwell building as an example? It's all on the event page, but just be sure. And it's a little thing, dress appropriately. I'm not expecting, right, that you're coming suited and booted. That's absolutely not what we're aiming for when I say dress appropriately. But just come in some smart casual clothing, right? Come dressed in not quite the way you would come to an interview, but you are going to be meeting employers there and potentially hiring managers or potential colleagues. So go with that kind of frame of mind and prepared to meet those people. How would you want to come across to the potential employer if you met one of these people at an interview? Would you be embarrassed for them to remember how you were dressed or how you came? Yeah, just think a little bit about that. Not to put loads of pressure on you, but just at least have this kind of discussion with yourself. Is this how you want to come across? Okay. And I've included on the top right hand side of the slide on there, that is the page on our website where we talk about being career confident and what to include and what to prepare. Our website can be a really useful resource for all this sort of stuff. We talk in some detail about these things. So if you're at all unsure, have a look on our website. And then it comes to probably the all important thing. What should I ask? What should I talk about? So first one, be honest. Don't try and fob your way out of these things or make yourselves look better than you think, but be as positively honest as you can. So talk to them about the things you're particularly proud of, the things you're really interested in or passionate about. And this is where you can take the pressure off yourself a bit, but it is actually really helpful. Try and ask as much as you can, and ask the stuff that maybe would be helpful to you either in a recruitment process or just to help you figure out, is this an employer I should be interested in, or do they do something I'm interested in? So I've put some examples then there. So things like, how can I stand out? What do you look for? Application, what do you look for at interview stage? Is there anything I should be doing that maybe I'm not? So an example might be joining societies or particular skills they want highlighted or are in need of. What's on offer? So I've put there about training, but it might be, what actual roles do you have available at the moment? Are there any particular roles on a year-to-year basis that come up very often? I'm looking for X. Is that something that's available at this employer? Those sorts of things can help you figure out that kind of, I talk in my job hunting session about target lists of employer. These can help you figure out, is this an employer I should be interested in? Am I qualified? Do I have the things that you need? Or should I be focusing on building some experience or skill or whatever it is that is going to get me an interview at your company? And then it's always helpful to make it a bit more personal. Why are they there? They're not the company, they are just a person at a specific employer. What drew them to it? What do they like about the job? How did they end up there? That can give you a sense of, am I on a similar sort of track? Or am I quite different to this person? And does that tell me anything? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But again, these are all things to sort of have an actual conversation with these people. Don't forget, it's very easy to just think, well, X company is there. Yeah, but it's a person from that company. So engage them on that personal level. What's their experience? How did they start working for that company? How did they apply? Were they approached? Did it come out of a careers fair, as an example? All these things can, be really helpful to find out and give you a sense of how achievable this is. What should I be doing to get there? Other things you should do on the day, it's always a good idea to make notes. We're human. We forget these things. It's really easy to, see loads of employers and not remember a thing about what they said. So making notes can be really useful. Getting a sense from students. So it can be helpful. It's not always possible, but it can be helpful to go in a group and sort of split up and then come back once you've gone to all the employers and share information. We will be there on the day. We can always help. We can give you a sense of, what to look out for, the employers that are there on the day, who to hit, who maybe would be particularly relevant for you, or give you some ideas on other employers that you might not have thought of. So come and see us. And really important, try and follow up if you can on LinkedIn. So get the name of the people you speak with and add them on LinkedIn. Really quick and easy way to grow your networks. And then because of that, get access to more and more people and potentially more and more opportunities. I'm just going to pause there while I take a quick drink, but does anybody have any questions? If you do have any questions, please feel free, put them in the chat and I will answer them as we go. I know I am, going through this at a decent pace, we're towards the end now, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about what you do afterwards and then wrapping up. But like I say, any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Now, that's, what you should do beforehand, what you should do on the day. There is some, I guess, homework that I would suggest. So we have had one question. That's a good question, actually. Would it be unprofessional to write notes on your phone rather than on paper? It does. I guess the question I'd ask is, how would you feel if you are speaking to a graduate and they're looking at the phone all the time and typing? It's obvious what you're doing. You are taking notes. But I have had it before where I've been taking notes on my phone and people have been sort of put out of joint because why are you on your phone while you're talking? It's rude. What I might suggest is if you have a conversation with someone, maybe don't write, and I wouldn't necessarily write down even if you had a pen and paper while you were talking, but it's perfectly fine to then go away from that conversation and write your notes in your phone once you've finished speaking. That, I think, would be fine either way. Maybe, and this would go for, writing on pen and paper, don't write as you're talking to them because it's going to feel forced on both sides and, yeah, not the best manners. Okay, a couple of things. I've already mentioned a few of these things to go away and do, but definitely plan ahead. Look at those lists of the types of employers and get a sense of, who you want to speak to. Know who you want to speak to, but also why you want to speak to them. It's not enough to just say, oh, I know, AECOM are there. I really want to speak to them. Why? What is it about AECOM that you're interested in? What type of roles are you interested in? What do you want to know? That key, what do you want to know, is important. Because if you just go there thinking, I want to speak to AECOM, and that's as far as you've thought, that could be where you think, I don't know what to say. You get there and you sort of like a deer in headlights. That's why it's important to think, what questions do you want to ask? What do you want to know? Another way of thinking about it is when you come to apply for a job, what's going to make that application easier? So maybe think about that in terms of reframing it. On the day, check for updates as best you can. So obviously check the Career Connect page. It could be useful as well to connect with the Careers Service on Instagram or LinkedIn. We have lots of updates throughout the day that we'll post, so that can be really helpful. Mention the other things, but try and make good notes. We talked about maybe making notes after you've had the conversation, but look, you really don't want to forget these things, so try and make notes if you can, and follow up on LinkedIn. That is probably one of the most powerful things you can do. A lot of people, students, graduates, but people in general, are a little bit sort of scared maybe or reluctant to just approach people out of the blue, people they don't know, which completely understand. But all these people that you will have spoken to on the day, dead simple, just connect with them. There shouldn't be any awkwardness. You have the perfect excuse to grow your network there. So make sure you're doing that. And, enjoy the day, right? These are big events. There's quite a lot of buzz. They can be good in small doses. For some people, it can be quite overwhelming. So manage yourself there. If you know that it's an event or that kind of event sort of isn't your thing, that's perfectly fine. Maybe ration it. Go have your list of employers, hit those employers, then get out. And if that's the way you want to do it, that's fine. But do what you can to enjoy the day. They can be really helpful, really good events. And like I say, collect as much loot as you can. Why not? Always really good fun. Which, everybody, brings me to the end of the session. And I did say, this was quite a short and sweet session. We're approaching the half-hour mark. Last couple of things I'm going to get you to do. And obviously, as we're doing this, if you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and I'll answer as best I can. But this is the attendance QR code. If you didn't get the chance to scan this at the start, if you could do that, please, that'd be really appreciated, just so I can send you the slides, send you the recording, and get a sense of, who's come to the session. I will be showing this again later, so don't worry too much about scanning it now if you haven't. And this is the last QR code I'm going to get you to do. I will leave this on the screen for a second. if you could just scan this for me, please. This is our feedback survey. Take about 30 seconds. We'd really appreciate it if you could fill this out, only because we are actually, quite responsive to feedback. I know everyone's asking for feedback all the time, and it can be quite frustrating, right? I get it. We put a lot of what we get every year into the next year's sessions and the way we do things, appointments. If you could just fill this out, we'd be really appreciative. Can really, help us make sure we're pitching this at the right level and that you guys are getting out of it what we're hoping. Once you have done that, I will just put our contact details on the screen. So our contact details there, that's our email address, careers.info@manchester.ac.uk. If you do have any questions or something's not working for you, Career Connect, appointments, whatever it is, please do get in touch. And like I say, if you couldn't do the QR code for whatever reason, if you email careers.info, we'll be able to send you the slides and the recording. Once you have done all that, ladies and gents, and you don't have any questions, you are free to go. I really hope that was helpful. Thank you very much for coming. I'll close the session in a few minutes if we don't get any questions. But other than that, thanks for coming, guys. Hope it was helpful, and see you again.